There are two houses of legislature. Upper house is known as Legislative Council and the lower house as the Legislative Assembly. The position of the Legislative Council is similar to that of the Council of the State in Union Legislature. In terms of a legislative, in term of the term of the Legislative Assembly is for a period of 5 years. This is subject to dissolution. A Legislative Council is a permanent body, but as nearly as possible, 1/3 of the member thereof shall retire as soon as may be expiry of every second year. Article 173. So far as executive authority is concerned, the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Legislative Assembly and not to the Legislative Council. Council of Ministers is responsible to Legislative Assembly, not the Legislative Council. So Legislative Assembly is more powerful. Welcome. Hi. This is so for the reason that the members of the Legislative Assembly is directly elected by the people. Members of the Legislative Assembly is directly elected from the people. It directly got elected from the people. That is the general public of the state, but there is a representation of special interest and section in the Legislative Council. There is a representation. What kind of representation? Special representation, special interest, representation of special interest and section in the Legislative Council. Such character of Legislative Council restricts also its legislative power. Relation between two houses. A bill may originate in either house. A bill can be originated in either house of the state, and the concurrence of both houses needed before the governor's assent to the bill. That means if a bill has to be passed, then the consent of both the houses is necessary in order to get the governor's assent over the bill. The view of the assembly ultimately prevails. Assembly's view shall be prevailed, and the only powers of the council is to interpose delay. The power of the council is to interpose delay. It can only delay its assent in the passage of a bill for some time, 6 months. In the passage of a bill for sometimes 6 months. That means it can delay for 6 months. The Legislative Council is not a reviewing but an advisory and dilatory chamber. Legislative Assembly is not a reviewing chamber, it is only advisory and dilatory chamber. If it rejects a bill sent to it by the Assembly, the bill goes back to the Assembly for reconsideration with or without amendment as the case may be. If the bill is again passed by the Assembly and sent to the Council, Legislative Council, the bill shall be deemed to have been passed by both the houses, notwithstanding disagreement by the Council. Article 197. Article 197 states that if a bill has been passed by Legislative Assembly and sent to the Legislative Council, it can send it back to the Assembly. If again Assembly sends the bill with or without amendment, then it shall be deemed to have been passed, even though there is a disagreement of the council, Legislative Council. Okay, so it is mentioned in Article 197. The Legislative Council has, in respect of money bill, has no power save to make recommendation to the Assembly for amendment or withhold the bill for 14 days from the date of the receipt of the bill. The Legislative Council had, in respect of money bill, no power save to make recommendation to the Assembly for amendment or withhold the bill for 14 days from the date of the receipt of the bill. It has no power just to withhold for 14 days. It has no power for recommendation. It can only recommend for amendment. It can only withhold the bill for 14 days from the date of receipt of the bill. It has, other than that, it has no power in respect of money bill, Legislative Council. So that's all about this video. If you find it useful, like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Please share as soon as possible. Describe the composition of the Legislative Assembly. Vidhan Sabha. Assembly is more powerful than council, as we have discussed through this video. We got to know that this assembly is wider power. Legislative Council Vidhan Parishad. Legislative Assembly of each state shall consist of not more than 500 or not less than 60 members chosen by direct election for territorial constituencies in a state as per Article 170. So Article 170 of the Constitution of India states that Legislative Council shall maximum strength of the Legislative Assembly shall be 500 and minimum should be 60, not less than 60. maximum 500, not more than 500, minimum 60, not less than 60, maximum 500, minimum 60, maximum 500, minimum 60. Legislative Assembly strength as per Article 170 of the Constitution of India. Under Article 333, the governor is empowered to nominate one member of the Anglo-Indian community to the Legislative Assembly if he is of the opinion that the members of that community is not adequately represented thereto. Article 333 of the Constitution of India states that governor has the power to appoint, to nominate one member of the Anglo-Indian community, if he is of the opinion that the particular community is not adequately represented in the assembly, then he can nominate one member from the Anglo-Indian community. It is mentioned in Article 333 of the Constitution of India. For this purpose, each state shall be divided into territorial constituencies in such manner that the ratio between the population of each constituency and the number of seats allotted to it, the for this purpose, the state is divided into territorial constituencies in such a manner the ratio between the population and number of seats, as far as practicable, should be same throughout the state. Territorial constituency, there are 14 constituencies in Assam. So it is what? It should be same. What should be same? Population versus seats allocation. Population is to seats allocation ratio, like 10 lakh population to 3 seats. If this is the ratio, that kind of ratio should be, or 12 lakh population is to 3 seats. So per seat there is a 4 lakh per seat. 4 lakh population is to 1 seat. 4 lakh population is to 1 seat. This is the ratio which is described under this example. That kind of ratio would be determined. If that ratio is determined, once that ratio is determined, that ratio should be same throughout all the constituency of the state. It is for this purpose, each state should be divided into territorial constituencies in such manner that the ratio between the population of each constituency and the number of seats allotted to it, as far as practicable, to be same throughout the state. The population here means the population ascertained at the last preceding census 1971. Population shall be this population as determined under census 1971. Upon the completion of each census, total number of seats in the Legislative Assembly of each state and the territorial constituencies shall be readjusted. After completion of each census, total number of seats in the Legislative Assembly of each state and total constituencies shall be readjusted. However, the readjustment of territorial constituency shall not affect the existing strength of the assembly. If we readjust the constituencies, that should not amend the strength of the assembly. What would be the strength of the assembly? 500, maximum 500, not more than 500, minimum 60, not less than 60. So adjustment of constituencies shall not amend the strength of the assembly. Upon completion of each census, after completion of every census, each census, total number of seats in a legislative assembly of each state and territorial constituencies shall be adjusted. Territorial constituencies shall be adjusted and number of seats shall be adjusted and ratio shall be adjusted. However, the adjustment of territorial constituencies shall not affect the existing strength of the assembly. This readjustment of territorial constituency will, however, not take place until the year 2000. Up to 2000, that kind of adjustment has not taken place till now, till 2000. Constitution 84th Amendment Act 2001 has amended the proviso to Article 170. What was the proviso? Proviso was that the maximum strength of 500 and minimum 60. So that was the proviso. That was mentioned in Article 170. So Constitutional 84th Amendment Act 2001 has amended the proviso to Article 170 and substituted for figures 2000 and 1971. The figures 2026 and 1991. This means that the population of the state for the purpose of seats shall be determined on the basis of 1991 census. Census year has been amended and census shall be the census base year of the census would be 1991. Substituted 2000 and 1971, the figures 2026 and 1991. This means the population of the state for the purpose of seats shall be determined on the basis of 1991 census. Composition of Vidhan Parishad. The total number of members in the Legislative Council of State having such a council shall not exceed 1/3 of the total number of members in the Legislative Council of the state. That the total number of members in the Legislative Council of the state having such a council shall not exceed 1/3 of the total number of members in the Legislative Council of the state shall in no case be less than 40. That means 1/3 shall not exceed 1/3 and shall not be less than 40. In the case of Legislative Assembly, maximum 500, minimum 60. In case of Legislative Council, shall not exceed 1/3 and shall not be less than 40. Until Parliament by law otherwise revises composition of the Legislative Council of State shall be as provided in clause 3. The total number of members of the Legislative Council of the State number in as nearly as may be 1/3 of the elected by electorates consisting of the member of municipalities, district boards and such other local authorities in the state as Parliament may by law specify. As nearly as 1/3. As nearly as 1/3. That means 1/3 of what? Of by electorates consisting. What are the electorates? How electorates shall be consisted? It will be consisted by the member of municipalities, district members of district board, such local authorities in the state as Parliament by law specified. Three types of electorate, 3 types of members shall form the electorates. What was the first member? Member of municipalities, second district boards, other local authorities in the state as Parliament by law specify. Number B, as nearly as maybe 1/12, 1/12, that is 12 part, 1 part of the 12 part का out of 12 part 1 part, out of 12 parts 1 part of the 12th part, 1/12 shall be elected by electorates consisting of person residing in a state who has been for at last 3 years graduate of any university in the territory of India or have been at least 3 years in possession of qualification prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament to that of graduate of any such university. As nearly as may be 1/12 shall be elected by electorates consisting of persons who have been for at least 3 years engaged in teaching in each educational institutions within the state not lower in standard than of secondary school as may be prescribed by or under any law made by Parliament. Number D, as nearly as may be 1/3 shall be elected by members of the Legislative Assembly of the state from among persons who are not members of the assembly. Number E, the remainder shall be nominated by governor in accordance with the provision of clause 5. The members to be elected under subclause A, B, C of clause 3 shall be chosen in such territorial constituencies as may be prescribed by any law or under any law made by Parliament, and election under the said subclause D of the said clause shall be held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. Members to be nominated by governor under subclause E of clause 3 shall consist of person having special knowledge or practical experience in respect of such service matters as the following, namely literature, science, art, cooperative movement, social service. Article 171. That means the members which would be nominated by governor under clause E, subclause E of clause 3 shall consist of person of special knowledge, having special knowledge or practical experience in respect of such service as the following, like literature, having experience especially knowledge in literature, having special knowledge in science, in arts, cooperative movement, social service, etc. The duration of Vidhan Sabha. What would be the duration of Vidhan Sabha? Duration of Legislative Assembly for a period of 5 years, the expiry of which operate as a dissolution of the assembly. Governor may dissolve it. Earlier Constitution 42nd Amendment Act 1976 extended the term of the assembly from 5 years to 6 years. So earlier it was 5 years, but 42nd Amendment, which was held in 1976, it extended the period to 6 years. The 44th Amendment Act 1978 has again restored the old duration of Legislative Assembly to 5 years. So now the duration is 5 years only. Okay. So that's all about this video. If you find it useful, like, subscribe my YouTube channel for more such educational content.